The triple dead heat qualifying, Jerez 1997, Jacques Villeneuve, Michael Schumacher, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen, 3 title rivals in the same session, all crossed the line with the exact same lap time, 1 minute, 21.072 seconds. No sector advantage, no disputed timing, no corrections. 3 men, same lap, same thousand, same impossible outcome. It wasn't a normal weekend. This was the final qualifying session of the year. A championship was on the line. Villeneuve needed pole. Schumacher needed to stop him, Frentzen. He was expected to be the wingman, nothing more. But when the times flashed on the board, every engineer, journalist, and spectator froze pole went to Villeneuve because he set the lap first. Schumacher got second. Frentzen got third. But the historical absurdity wasn't where they started. It was what it represented. The margins of a title fight collapsing into a mathematical anomaly. Nothing like this has ever happened again. Timing systems are so precise, simulators so advanced, data so exact that a triple tie, especially between the 2 title contenders, feels like a glitch in reality. But Jerez wasn't a glitch. It was the quiet before the storm. That storm arrived the next day when Schumacher turned in on Villeneuve and ended up parked in the gravel with his championship gone. But the psychological trigger? It started here. The lap time that said the entire world title would be decided by whoever broke the symmetry first. A 1 in a million moment where 3 drivers found perfection on the same minute, on the same lap. In the highest stakes session of the season, F1 has produced thousands of qualifying sessions. This one stands alone. 5 leaders fail in 2 laps. The end of the 1982 Monaco Grand Prix didn't resemble a race. It resembled a prank played by the racing gods. Lap 74, Alain Prost, leading comfortably, hit the Armco at the harbor and threw away the win. Ricardo Patrese inherited the lead. It should have been straightforward, except it wasn't. 1 lap later, Patrese spun and stalled at Lowe's. He was stuck, out. The cameras panned to Didier Pironi, suddenly leading the Ferrari pit wall erupted, until the tunnel swallowed the car and Pironi ran out of fuel. No throttle, no sound, nothing. The lead passed to Andrea de Cesaris. All he had to do was keep the car moving. Instead, his Alfa Romeo coughed, starved, and died with 1 lap to go. Behind him, Derek Daly approached, gearbox failing, rear wing flapping, half the car falling apart, and he slowed to a crawl, barely making corners. The commentary team had no idea who was leading. The fans had no idea who was winning. Even the teams stopped giving positions because the order changed every 30 seconds. Meanwhile, Patrese, the man who had spun and stalled, managed to bump start his Brabham on a downhill section, brought the engine back to life, crawled through the street circuit filled with stranded cars, and crossed the line to when 5 different drivers had been on course to win. 4 of them failed to finish the final lap. The winner was the one who had literally been facing the wrong direction 2 minutes earlier. No ending in Formula One has ever matched the absurdity of Monaco 1982. The last to first miracle, Jenson Button's 2011 Canadian Grand Prix, shouldn't have been a comeback. It should have been a retirement. He collided with Lewis Hamilton. He got a drive-through penalty. He picked up a puncture. At one point, he was running 21st, dead last, with only 30 laps left in the longest race in Formula One history. Then something shifted. The rain returned. The track transformed from chaos to opportunity, and Button became a different creature. He sliced through the midfield like they were part. He overtook cars on the outside of corners you're not supposed to try. He found grip where physics said there was none. He went from 21st to 10th, from 10th to 6th, from 6th to 2nd, and then the impossible. He caught Sebastian Vettel, the reigning champion, on the final lap. Vettel, undefeated all season, cracked under pressure. A tiny slide, a small correction, and Button pounced, passing him in the final sector to complete the greatest statistical recovery drive ever recorded in modern Formula One. You don't win from last at Montreal. You especially don't win from last with penalties, collisions, punctures, and a 2-hour rain delay. But Button did it wasn't luck. It was a masterclass in precision, patience, and wet weather instinct that has never been replicated. The 8-car start elimination. The first race of a new season usually feels clean. Fresh engines, fresh hope. 20 cars lined up, all untouched by the grind of a long campaign. But Melbourne 2002 turned the opening seconds of the season into one of the biggest mass eliminations in Formula One history, all before Turn 1. As the lights went out, Rubens Barrichello launched towards Turn 1 with the entire field behind him. But right behind came Ralf Schumacher, tucked into the Ferrari's slipstream. By the time they reached the braking braking zone, he had too much speed and nowhere to go. Ralph's Williams hit the Ferrari at over 250 kilometers per hour and took off like a fighter jet, flying several meters into the air, rotating midair, and smashing down into the track surface so violently the entire camera platform shook. Behind them, panic detonated. Cars arrived blind into a cloud of smoke and debris. 8 were gone instantly. Ferraris, Williams, Saubers, Arrows wiped out in the space of a single impact. Carbon fiber exploded across the circuit. Debris bounced off helmets. Marshal sprinted in every direction trying to stop the rest of the drivers from plowing into the wreckage. It didn't look like the start of a Grand Prix. It looked like a disaster scene. The total elimination before Turn 1 remains one of the largest first corner wipeouts ever recorded, shocking even seasoned commentators into silence. For the restart, nearly half the field was missing, leaving a grid that looked surreal, incomplete, like a race that had jumped straight to lap 60. The incident forced Formula One to rethink starting procedures, grid spacing, and braking zones at early lap bottlenecks. It also set the tone for the unpredictability of the 2002 season, proving that a championship isn't only won on pace, but on who survives the chaos. The final corner championship theft. Brazil 2008 is the moment every racing fan remembers, even if they weren't watching Formula One, because this wasn't just a title decider, it was the title decider, the kind Hollywood would reject as too unrealistic. Lewis Hamilton needed 5th or better to win his first championship. Felipe Massa needed either a win plus a bad Hamilton finish or divine intervention. What followed was a story so dramatic, so mathematically perfect, that it rewrote the definition of last-second heartbreak. Rain fell before the start. Strategy split the grid apart. Massa controlled the race flawlessly, soaking in the pressure from a home crowd desperate to see a Brazilian champion again. Meanwhile, Hamilton slipped, recovered, lost positions, regained them, and looked on course for a calm 5th. Then came the twist. With 6 laps left, the rain returned. Hamilton stayed out on dry tires. Sebastian Vettel, in a Toro Rosso, caught him and passed him. Hamilton dropped to 6th. Massa crossed the finish line as world champion Ferrari's pit wall erupted. The stadium shook. The commentators announced a Brazilian title. For 30 full seconds, Felipe Massa was champion of the world. Then the cameras cut to the final corners. Timo Glock's Toyota, still on dry tires, tiptoed through the rain like a terrified rookie. His car had no grip, zero traction. He slid out of the final turn at walking speed. Hamilton saw it. Vettel saw it. 2 cars sprinting, 1 car crawling. In the final 2 corners of the entire season, Hamilton slipped past Glock by mere meters and crossed the line in 5th. Massa's championship evaporated in real time. Ferrari's joy turned into stone-cold silence. The stadium noise died instantly. Massa's tears told the rest of the story. It is the only world championship ever won in the final half-minute of the final lap of the final race of the year, a scenario so impossibly timed that analysts still replay it frame by frame. The fastest pit stop in history. Pit stops aren't supposed to look like CGI. They're mechanical processes. Heavy tires, high-torque wheel guns, choreography drilled endlessly but always limited by human reaction. For decades, a sub-2-second stop was considered the sport's physical ceiling. Then, Qatar 2023 happened. McLaren didn't just break the barrier, they obliterated it. Lando Norris screamed into his pit box. The car stopped, and the world record began. The McLaren crew hit all 4 corners with such mechanical precision that replays look accelerated. Wheel off, wheel on, lock, release. Car leaves 1.80 seconds. Not estimated, not rounded down, officially verified. To put that into perspective, the average human blink takes 0.25 seconds. In the time you blink 7 times, McLaren changed all 4 tires. The tires weighed 23 kilograms each. The wheel guns hit over 10,000 RPM. One synchronization error would destroy the attempt. But there were no errors, no hesitation, no wasted motion. Just 20 people moving like a single organism. The moment instantly entered the Guinness World Records. No team has matched it since. No team has come close. The 3-wheeled victory. Formula One cars aren't supposed to finish races on 3 wheels. Not in the hybrid era, not in 2020, and definitely not at Silverstone, one of the fastest circuits in the world. But on that July afternoon, physics took a break. Late in the race, tire failures began sweeping across the front-running cars. First, Bottas' tire exploded, then Sainz's. The teams panicked. Engineers screamed into radios, but Hamilton, leading comfortably, still pushed on. Then, halfway through the final lap, it happened. His front left tire detonated, shredding rubber everywhere. The Mercedes collapsed onto its rim at 200 kilometers per hour. The car didn't just slow, it skated, sparks flew. Metal scraped. The W11 was barely steering, and Hamilton still had almost an entire lap to go. Most drivers would pit. Most would give up the win. But Hamilton kept going, controlling a 1,000 horsepower monster that now turned like a shopping trolley with a broken wheel. He took every corner with millimeter judgment, coaxing a car with no grip through exits that normally require full throttle. Max Verstappen was charging behind him, taking 3 seconds a lap. Commentators thought the lead was gone. The margins kept shrinking. 30 seconds, 20, 15. By the final straight, Verstappen was nearly in sight. Hamilton crossed the line with 5 seconds to spare, dragging the car over the finish. 3 wheels spinning, 1 wheel disintegrated, fans screaming through their televisions. It looked impossible. It was impossible. The marshals push a car into points. Suzuka 1994 was soaked in rain, the kind that creates rivers across the asphalt. Drivers aquaplaned without warning. Cars simply glided off the track as if pulled by magnets. Early in the race, Martin Brundle's McLaren slid off at the final chicane and stopped in a runoff zone. In modern F1, that's the end. You're out. Race over. But this was 1994, and the marshals at Suzuka weren't interested in DNFS. They ran toward Brundle, shouting instructions. They grabbed the rear wing and started physically pushing the Formula One car back onto the circuit. Every push was risky. The track was live. Visibility was near zero, and cars were still passing at speed. Brundle restarted the engine, rejoined the race, and fought through the surviving field. And then the unbelievable part. He finished 6th, scoring a championship point a modern fan might not understand how insane that is. You cannot push a car today. You cannot assist a stalled driver. The moment the marshals touch the vehicle in 2024, you're automatically out. What Brundle achieved, a restart by manpower, a recovery drive, a points finish, is not just illegal now, it's irreproducible. The one-gear victory. A Formula One gearbox is a symphony of precision. Lose 1 gear, and you're compromised. Lose 2, and you're effectively out. Lose every gear except 6th, and you're not finishing the race, unless your name is Nigel Mansell. In Canada, 1991, Mansell's Williams developed one of the strangest mechanical failures ever seen. The gearbox locked itself into 6th gear only. No first gear for hairpins. No second or third for quick exits. Just 6th, the gear meant for the fastest straights of the circuit. The race had nearly 30 laps left, but Mansell didn't retire. He adapted. He took corners at impossible speeds just to avoid stalling. He feathered the throttle in slow sections to prevent the revs from dropping. He navigated the tight Montreal hairpins with the finesse of a driver balancing on a knife's edge. The lap times weren't just competitive. He was still pulling away. By the end, the Williams trembled toward the finish line, engine screaming, gearbox barely alive, commentators losing their minds. He won a Grand Prix in 1 gear, a feat so technically unlikely that gearbox specialists still call it a miracle. The triple title collapse. The 1999 European Grand Prix at the Nürburgring didn't feel like a race. It felt like fate was playing games with the championship contenders. Mika Hakkinen, the reigning world champion, looked strong, until a sudden wheel failure sent him spinning into retirement. David Coulthard, the second McLaren, had his race destroyed when his pit crew didn't have his tires ready. A mistake so rare, it looked staged. Heinz-Harald Frentzen, leading brilliantly in front of his home crowd, suffered a freak electrical failure that shut the car down instantly. 3 contenders, 3 unrelated mechanical catastrophes, all in the same race, all within the same window of laps. It opened the door for Eddie Irvine, the driver nobody expected to be in the title fight, to take one of the most shocking wins ever recorded. Commentators called it divine intervention. Analysts called it statistical insanity. Fans called it the day Formula One lost its script.